since October 4th, when the Air Force came into my office and visited with some of our board members, that's the point in time, October 4th, when they came, sat down, and their first words were, "We've come to exercise our right as part of the agreement to remove the plane from Memphis and take it to Dayton." And we sat there stunned, and we asked them why. And their reasoning was that they wanted they considered the Memphis Belle and the Enola Gay two of their most important possessions, and they wanted those planes in Dayton. Of course, the Enola Gay is in Washington in a new facility out at Dulles, but they wanted this plane with them there in Dayton so that people who came through to visit for the 60th anniversary of the end of War II could see this. And they let us know there's about 1.4 million visitors to Dayton each year. We anticipate maybe 100,000 to 300,000, so much less, although you put this baby in a museum and it probably would even attract more.
The Air Force museums move to exercise their 60-day option was extremely well timed. Couldn't have hit us at a worse point. If you're familiar with bomber tactics during the war, they have a mission, and they know what the mission is. They know where they're going. And the bomber stream is trolling out there, going across the channel, going across France, going into Germany, and the Germans are trying to track them, figure out where they're going so they can hit them, you know, And they have in the mission plan what they call an initial point, or an IP. And that is where the bomb run starts. From that point, they can go here, 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 here. Well, the Germans have to guess where. But the optimum place to hit them is at the IP, because that's where the bombers all have to start flying straight, where they take on one airspeed, one altitude, one fixed direction, which is the ideal situations for anti-aircraft and Luftwaffe fighters, you know, because you got sitting ducks on the bomb run. It's just guessing which target they're going to be hitting from, but the IP is the weakest point. We have been working in the NBMA smoothing wrinkled egos between the War Memorial Foundation, which was a foundation that should never have been conceived outside of the parameters of the NBMA, because it created an unnecessary and unavoidable conflict. You know, in my move to get a museum going back in 91, 92, I had, you know, worked with others, and we had created a similar concept of this War Memorial Foundation, but it was a subcommittee to the NBMA. In other words, it was part of the parent organization. It may well wind up being the leading organization, that may be, you know, wind up being the tail wagging the dog, but that was okay as long as it was done through the auspices, under the auspices of the NBMA, the parent. And the foundation was done as a separate group in and of itself, and it was just a natural conflict. And so what we did, we spent several months, a better part of a year, smoothing those wrinkles and those conflicts, and basically grafted the foundation in under the umbrella of the NBMA, which is how it should have been in the first place, and then pulled the best portions of the foundation's board onto our board. And basically I had gotten Andrew Pouncey to consider a board position, because I knew he was a very talented individual in administration, and he subsequently was elected as president and brought to the association a talent for administration, which was sorely needed. Got a business plan. We had our business plan all set up. We're getting ready. You know, we got the board, Memphis Belle Memorial Association, and the foundation board problems resolved, and got those issues straightened out. And we're getting ready to hit the starting blocks on a fundraising drive. Then we get the call from the Air Force. So basically, they hit us at our IP. We're at the most vulnerable point to get the mission done, and that's when we got hit. And there's just very little defense you can offer up in that position. We were partnered with the Air Force, so it's kind of difficult to fight them, because we're basically a satellite project for the Air Force Museum.
So that's when we received the first word about October 4th. We discussed it, the different points. We asked, if we had all the money in the world right now to do all that we wanted, would you change your mind? They said no. I said, if we had our museum under construction, would you change your mind? They said no. Of course, I think that's the only position they could take.
I know the aircraft was not taken care of properly. It was not supported properly by the City of Memphis, and it did not get the support that was needed to maintain it. Then that's one reason the Air Force is looking at taking it. But by the same token, now there is an organization that is working together as a group. They're consolidated, and I believe they're doing a good job in maintaining it and trying to get it in good condition for a museum here in Memphis where it should stay.
They just have to realize that the Belle has been here for almost 60 years. It's not the Dayton Belle or the Savannah Belle or the Toledo Belle. It's the Memphis Belle. And she's been here since 1946. And her namesake, Margaret Polk, is buried here. She just needs to stay here. It really does.
The primary actions for saving the Belle have come from the Memphis Belle Memorial Association. And we've approached our friends, our members of the association, and city agencies. We're working on government agencies right now to work with us to save the Belle. There are articles in papers from the Commercial Appeal to the Collierville Independent to raise the awareness. Now you have to remember too in all this is that the Memphis Belle Memorial Association is a partner with the Air Force in this agreement. And the association is trying to take the high road in that we're looking out for the plane for its best use. So whether it stays here in Memphis or it goes to Dayton, it's going to be well taken care of. So we're very careful about what position we take here. We have written a letter to our legislators. So there's one group. We've written to our legislators asking them to work with us to reverse the decision by the Air Force to take the plane from Memphis to Dayton, and then help us set up an irrevocable agreement to have the plane remain here in Memphis so we can continue the restoration and put it in a permanent climate-controlled museum.
I was a little prejudiced about moving it out here because I was saying, they ain't gonna never get back down to the island again, or wherever they was counting on building a hangar for it.
There was supposed to be a meeting with Senator Frist and Senator Alexander's office with the Air Force Museum officials a couple weeks ago, and the Air Force canceled the meeting. And there's no indication they had any plans of rescheduling it anytime soon. So I think they're basically just kind of biding their time and sort of letting what fever's out there just kind of calm down and let Memphis do its usual Memphis thing and move on to other issues and sort of lose its concern.
To look at the Memphis Belle the way it is now, with the engines off, the wings off, being able to get up to it and touch the aircraft, when it goes to a museum, all refurbished, all set up, you will not cross a rope that is near the aircraft. You will be walking around the aircraft. And right now you can see every part of the aircraft. People look at the engines, never seen a recip engine, how it works. You can see the whole thing torn down with the jugs off, with the parts off, with the exhaust collector rings off of it and like that. The struts are off the aircraft. It's all torn down. You can walk around and touch every part of it just about and look in the bomb bay and get up close to it, and it's just so interesting to be able to get right beside the aircraft, which you will not be able to do once it gets there. Look at where the fuel cells were, where the oil tanks were, how the engines are mounted on, how the wings are mounted on the aircraft. This is things people will never be able to see once it goes to a museum. So while it's here, the people that tour it here get a very extensive tour of the aircraft.
In 1976, the plane was given back to the Air Force by the City of Memphis. The plane would stay in the City of Memphis, though, so that it would educate the public and be restored by the Memphis Belle Memorial Association, and that's been carried on since then. Part of that agreement was that at any point the Air Force could take that plane. And probably every 5 years the Air Force has gotten itchy about the plane. So this is not new what's going on right now. It's just they've become serious about it. It's their real serious attempt to take the plane from the City of Memphis. I think that's important for people to know, because that's a little bit of background on how we got to this point. It just didn't walk out of here with the Air Force, and actually we still have it. So.
Why did Memphis sell it back to the Air Force?
Good question. I was not around at that point. I have no clue. And don't print this part. I really don't know. And I don't know that you'd want to ask those that were around then. I think it would hurt them.
One of the moves to get the museum project going, again, we had the general apathy of the City of Memphis. And at that time, heavens, you had guys like, trying to think, Chief of Police Tony Gagliano, who was a ball turret gunner in 92nd Bomb Group. You had the Mayor of Memphis, Ingram, who was a P-51 pilot. In other words, you had people who were in positions of influence and authority to get this project going. And again, you know, it couldn't happen then. And so it's even harder to make that connection now, you know. And so to sort of motivate the City of Memphis and the City Fathers to kind of create a crisis, and I wasn't there at the genesis of this, but the lease was given over to, or the ownership was given over, signed over to the U.S. Air Force Museum as part of their inventory. In other words, if we can't do anything with it, then maybe they can, and we use them to sort of create a mandate to get something going, and that worked very well to our favor up until recently, and that mandate has kind of come back to haunt us.
You have a very emotional following of the Belle. You can see that from other people you've interviewed and such. And those people we need to write letters to our legislators and to the Air Force to help reverse this decision. But you know, what's interesting is that we are like the generation of the sons and daughters. And those that were there at the time in the 40s, their numbers are dwindling. And I believe this would have been best if it had taken place when they were the CEOs that held the purse strings, who could have had the money to build this museum. It didn't happen. So now it's upon the sons and daughters to stand up and do the same thing. And so it's really upon our backs, because we're the ones coming of age and making the money to where we can hopefully take this on and make it succeed. And we're doing it for our parents' generation. That's the way I see it.
One of the closing lines in that really fine film done by Steven Spielberg, Saving Private Ryan, and where the Tom Hanks character, Captain Miller, is about at his end, and he, you know, and all this is going on to ostensibly to pull this one guy out and get him back home. And in his closing remarks is earn this, earn this. And so the way I look at it is that we all need to look at this from a perspective that we have a freedom and a bounty in this country that is owed to somebody else who isn't here. You know, pieces of them are scattered all over Europe. And if we don't conduct ourselves in a way that pays proper and due tribute to those guys, it's like taking them out and killing them all over again. And I think that's a real sin. And I think that that's a story that can be told here in this museum. And that story will be lost if it's not done locally here with attention, you know, with personal attention. I don't wish to see the Memphis Belle logged in as artifact number, 415 or whatever. There's just a personal history there that's going to be lost. And that's really all I can say about that.
The people of Memphis are the reason why this plane even exists. The Air Force had thrown it away. She survived obsolescence by the Air Force. She was going to junk, period. She would have been our beer cans and things like that. And because of the people of Memphis, they went and saved the plane. And their efforts ought to be rewarded. She ought to stay here because this is who she belongs to.
But all along we knew it was the property of the U.S. government. And if they say they want it, I guess they have the right to say they want it, but I sure hate to see it leave Memphis.
I think that the Belle is a status for Memphis because it was named the Memphis Belle. It was the first crew that flew 25 missions in total over there, completed their missions. I think it's a great historical asset for Memphis, and I believe Memphis should maintain it and keep it. I don't believe that there's any other city that should put any claims to it, but there again, if Memphis will do what Memphis should do, support it, build a good facility for it, and put it in there as a museum piece. It should be where everybody can see it. If it hadn't been for the aircraft such as this and the rest of the military, we would be speaking German today. And this is a great asset, and it needs to be preserved, but it doesn't need to be preserved away from Memphis.
It seems that projects that succeed are the type of projects that corporations and politicos can grandstand best on to mass appeal sports events, NBA sports teams, and the FedEx Forum.
It's a dedication of love. I love freedom. I love the airplane. I love Memphis. I want to keep the airplane in Memphis, and they have not seen the emotion that I will have if they take it out of here. And as I told the people on Channel 3, that if the wheels go into well on the C5, that third emotion will come out. And a lot of people are not going to like it. I mean, I'm not a violent person, but I got a good pen, I got a good pencil, and I can write some real nice stuff. And so they're going to see that emotion come out, and I'm going to make some people unhappy that they let the Memphis Belle get away from us. So I'll do anything I have to, anything I can, without getting violent. You can't do that because that's not legal no more. But to keep the Memphis Belle here, because it belongs in Memphis. This is the Memphis Belle. It's not the Dayton Belle. It's the Memphis Belle, and we want to keep her here. And she's a sweet lady. The more you see it, the more you'll love it, or love her, I should say, because we talk of our airplanes like her ladies. And the older they get, the sweeter they get, and the better they get. So she's a sweet lady.
And I personally take it as a direct offense personally that you cannot interest the city government or local corporations in promoting and pushing a project like this forward, because all of the pleasures that they enjoy, all the influence, all the benefits, all the riches that they enjoy, all the freedoms they enjoy, were paid for by somebody else.
One of the big differences in the restoration they proposed and the one that we're proposing is that the skin that you see, much of that skin is original. And there are parts that have been taken off and so forth because through time and the weather and elements, especially of Mud Island, there's been corrosion of that material. They are going to take that skin off all the way down and start again. I mean, it's like taking history away. And if you look at some of these portions, if you've toured around the facility here, the tour guides will show you pieces that have the holes where the flak was, where the Germans shot up through it. And that's still on this plane in places. So there's pieces of history that would be removed if it went to Dayton. And we intend to keep those because that to me is part of the historical perspective on that plane.
I cannot even fathom the logic on that, because she's a veteran. You know, she's got bumps and rattles that she earned, and that makes her a brand new B-17. So what's the story in that? It's kind of like putting up a historical plaque saying, this is the former site of a very historic house that used to be here. So you point out and says, well, there used to be flak holes here. There used to be, you used to see machine gun, 50 caliber, patch marks here, but it's not there. So what's the point? That's not restoration. That's not preservation. That's reconstruction.
Let me say this. There's about 2 or 3 views on the movement of the Belle. Okay. One is that there's some people who want to fight for it, and that's fine. There are some who believe that it's going to a higher plane, no pun intended, but it just means that it can be viewed by more people now. We've had our opportunity, and now others have that time to share with the Belle. Okay, and then there's a lot of folks that have had their heart torn out, and those primarily are the restoration guys who have put in 7,500 to 10,000 man hours since March of '03, and this is early November '04. That's a lot of time away from family, vacation, etc. To do that for something you love, and then just have it taken away quickly. So they have pulled back for the moment. I believe they're ready to go again, but it's going to take a recovery time for them to get over what's just happened. So you got those who want to fight, you got those that are okay with the move, and you got those who are just worn out by it all. Meantime, we are the MBMA, and we are still a partner with the Air Force, and we're trying to look after that plane, whether it stays in Memphis or it goes to Dayton. And we're going to follow every part if it goes to Dayton, all the way. So.
I just want to see the thing succeed. I just don't know if the Air Force Museum is going to let that happen. Playing hardball.
Everyone I've talked to, the first thing that they'll come out and tell me is they're kind of shocked and they're kind of awed that the Air Force would want to take the airplane to Dayton, Ohio. Yes, Dayton, Ohio is a nice museum, but this is the Memphis Belle. They come to Memphis to see the Memphis Belle, and it would be almost out of place from across the world, from Europe, Asia, from Africa. I've had people from every part of the United States, and every one of them has expressed the same thing. The Belle belongs here. This is Memphis Belle's, the Memphis Belle, and it's the Memphis Belle's place to be in Memphis. And so I have yet to find anyone, I mean not zero, that would want the plane moved. And they've all volunteered to take and do what they could to help keep the plane in Memphis.
My opinion for Memphis losing the Belle, I think it's probably interest. I see that there's only a few people that keep it going. People are always invited to come here to keep it going. We need numbers. We need people of interest. Maybe it's a lull in Memphis. They got other priorities in mind, developmental reasons for the land. There's just not a public publicity out there for it, as it should be. Maybe with the ingredient of that, and of course development, that they have other interests right now somewhere else. And I hate to see them lose a bomber like the Memphis Belle.
Memphis is a difficult town to get public benefit projects going if there's not a direct corporate profitable tie-in.
I haven't seen any effort from the city officials to keep the Belle. They just, if it stays, it stays. If it don't, it don't. That was their attitude.
I thought we'd get more than we did. I'm kind of disappointed that we didn't, but they've got priorities too, and you know that's there's other things that have to be done. So I can understand it, but I am really disappointed in the support that we received.
It's often said if you don't know your history, you're destined to repeat it, and Memphis is Memphis has got a PhD on that. So. But it's a great city, but it could be greater, and it's a shame that our icons are seemingly, proverbially going to Ohio. Whoever thinks of Cleveland, Ohio, when I think of rock and roll.
Well, I would have hoped that long ago that this beautiful plane would have been restored and in a museum. And again, now it's that responsibility is placed on the next generation to accomplish that task.
I hope that y'all's project is of some benefit to keeping the aircraft here. I have my doubts that will happen, but at least you're documenting yet another phase of the history of this project, and it's kind of I got mixed emotions about it. It's a bitter pill to swallow, because I had really envisioned that it was going to be an opportunity to offer something to the general public, to inform them of what was done, for them by others, and I think that that the general populace, they have a debt of gratitude that just cannot ever be fully repaid, and for the most part, I don't give a damn. I don't care. What does World War II have to do with me? Well, everything. Everything.
This dirty little town, it always gets you down. It makes you wear a frown. A storm is getting primed. It's not your fault this time, but you have done no crime. Tonight you're gonna go to your favorite hideaway. No one else can find you for days and days and days. You're gonna go, this time you stay. They left you here for dead. A price was on your head, and you were hanging by a thread. Hardcore to the end. You were no man's friend. You just can't pretend. I can feel your pain. I can see through your despair. You're fighting to maintain, but it's too late for prayer. Have you lost your faith in God and this grand facade? Now you're a lightning rod. You'll be a memory in time, forgotten in your prime. You'll forever be sublime.